Hello and welcome to Kadiz. This is Dresden's Tale, episode 25. I'm your guide, Lewis Nichols, and this is the show where we follow Dresden Fane, member of the House of Nanok, warrior of the Stone Clan, as he begins his adventuring career. His first season is pretty much wrapping up. He's done a lot of exciting things in the last year. He's fought with his militia. He's escorted wagons. He's endured the harsh conditions of Odessa. He's made new friends and allies. But most of all, he's just survived. That's often the hardest thing for an inexperienced warrior out in the wilderness. Even when you're with your friends, sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's skill, sometimes it's smarts. But no matter what you attribute it to, Dresden has done it. He's drawn the notice of some veterans, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But I would say that we are all assured a season 2, Dresden in the field, and us here watching him. This is going to be chapter 24, the final chapter of the book. It's the 14th day of Erhard. It is 2,051 years after the fall. Happy? Donald asked from the railing of the stone brig Pride of the Seas. The ship, workhouse of the Stone Clan fleet, measured 60 feet in length, making for a smooth trip across the Gulf. 2 masts drove it forward with no need to man the oars. Stone brigs served every purpose, from cargo transports to troop ships. Dresden had even heard of a few converted to personal yachts for the wealthiest heroes of the clan. Ecstatic, Liz smiled. Along with Dresden, they stood along the forward railing in front of piles of crates and barrels bound for the port settlement of Georgetown on the island of Kadiz. The goods created a barrier between them and the milling droves of converts. Dresden was sure even Donald got tired of the heathen hordes. Thrilled to death, he told them. The day was warm, might have been hot without the sea breeze. It wouldn't last, though. It was 16 days left to winter. Cold was inevitable. Ah, it's beautiful, Donald said. The forested island was coming up fast, a sea of yellow, orange, and reds where the foliage responded to cooler temperatures. Liz laughed. You're such a wimp. Dresden felt the ship begin to slow and looked back. He admired the efficiency of the crew as they pulled up the sails and secured them in place, all at the captain's behest. The sailors were hard on their passengers, cuffing them any time they got in the way. You know, this is all part of the process, Donald pointed out, baiting the warriors among them to stand up for themselves. No, they're just in the way, the dwarf scoffed. I can see the docks, Liz called. We're almost there. A few minutes later, they were watching the converts depart. Local instructors were already putting them in lines to march them off to camps. It was a lot of trouble, a lot of yelling. Well, they're not our problem anymore, Dresden voiced his relief. He hadn't felt like his trip to Odessa had accomplished much, but this had been a real adventure and one they had completed successfully. Do you have any idea what we're supposed to do now? Liz asked. Burrell and Gain had been clear. The escorts were now on their own. They acted like it was some kind of test or even a contest to see which of the warriors could make it back home. Dresden felt a smile somewhere beneath his face, trying to get out. No idea. Just a new town with new trouble to find. Minutes after leaving the boat, a messenger found Dresden and handed over a letter. Well, what's this? Donald wanted to know. It's not going to help you. Master Nanok wants me to winter here, check in with the Temple of Balis for training, and try not to be lazy. Says the two of you should just swim home. Dresden felt the end of his mouth curl upward. He always loved something new, and this city had promise. Getting to the temple turned out to be an event. In Georgetown, every important structure was over his head. The entire settlement was arboreal, except for a small market and a surprisingly strong force of city watch, all of which seemed to be intentionally rude minotaur. "We just don't have time for you now. You'll be alerted when we do." The temple priest was just as gruff. Dresden thought after having to negotiate 2 rope ladders and a sky bridge to get to the treetop building, they could at least be friendly. "And when can I expect that I might be summoned?" He tried to be direct without seeming rude himself. "Not today. Probably not this week. Just go make yourself useful." The monkey turned and left. He found Biona's militia had a facility in town and bunked there, but he was bluntly told they had no need for him. The unit trained strictly for forest warfare, and a dwarf simply did not fit in. After 3 days, Dresden made arrangements with the Stone Gills, a work gang controlling the docks. He could draw equipment, perishables, and sleep in their bunkhouse. In exchange, all he had to do was work. Woodcrafters were in high demand. Despite the expansive, well-stocked wood shop, the Gills could just barely keep up. Dresden looked over the long list of needed items they had posted on the wall. "Guess I'm going to be a cart maker this winter." He found himself a corner of the workshop he could make his own and went to work. Dresden wasn't used to the level of division in Georgetown. The arboreal city was clearly designed to exclude anyone who wasn't a natural climber or a flyer. The local minotaur were just pampered ruffians. The docks were their own world and only interacted with the tree dwellers when they had to. Furthering the division was the strong presence of powerful clans. Campbells, Tornadoes, and the Doomed. They all maneuvered to protect their interests when it came time to allocate converts. Despite their value, none of the locals liked the new believers, creating yet another layer of contrast. The converts were locked down for their own protection, but after showing some progress, they were occasionally allowed to mingle with the townsfolk, who in turn were still wary of any heresy that might remain. His friends shipped out by the end of the month, and Dresden was alone with time to think. Drail, a good man, dead and buried on the side of the mountain road. Hongus, home in his warm bunk. Dresden wondered when he'd be home again to see his papa. Donald was bound for Parncilia. Ralph, he'd never even got to say goodbye before taking the mission. He even thought kindly of Captain Larafin, who was surely now enjoying a winter free of the noobs and the recruits. And there was Bee. Would he ever see her again? Or Deanie, for that matter, with the camp so close but cut off at the same time. Not that she would necessarily want to see him. Alone, a warrior in a foreign land, up against hostile locals and perilous odds. It almost seemed noble when he thought about it like that, but in truth, he just missed home. His early optimism was starting to fade a bit, but he was glad he was going to have time to train. The gods had seen fit to shine their providence on him, and his mind ached for new knowledge. After a week, the temple summoned him to return. Soon, he was immersed in study, and despite his current status, he hoped that one day he might be a useful warrior to the clan. And so ends chapter 24. I was doing some thinking about scheduling, and odds are you're listening to this probably in June, and I'm hopeful. I think if things haven't gone astray, that I'll be able to roll right into season 2 in July. Of course, recording this so early, There's a lot of things that could have gone off the rails or changed, but now we're gonna do a little time travel here and make my prediction that by the time you hear this, I'll be called out on it. We'll see how good my scheduling really is. I want to thank you all for being a part of this. Those of you who are listening to this, that means you've stuck with me, and we're gonna keep going with this project. You know all the usual ways you can support me. Your reward for listening to this episode 25, the end of the book, is I'm not going to bug you with all the minutia. I'm just going to say that I appreciate you all very, very much, and I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day. Dresden took 3 quick jabs to the jaw, but ducked under the big Iranian's haymaker. His attacks were controlled, as if engaged in some angry dance. At stake was the last spot in a new barracks. The old sleeping quarters were cold and drafty. They leaked when it rained. The newly constructed accommodations were sealed tight against the elements and had room enough for each warrior to store armor and personal goods. It even had a card table. Charging blindly, the amphibious fighter put his full mass into a raging assault. It was the kind of attack Dresden would have made a year ago. Now he simply saw it as an opportunity. Dresden ducked and rolled into the opponent's ankles. He could hear the thud and the dock workers who cheered at the hard contact. In an instant, Dresden was back on his feet. Like a wasp on a spider, he swooped in to take full advantage of his position. Measured strikes gave way to eager brutality of putting his man down and keeping him down. Dresden was yanked clean off the man, but resisted the urge to struggle. Instead, he let the burly Saurian work gang boss set him gently onto the ground. "Congratulations, dwarf. Challenge won. The bunk is yours."